Hey, what is going on, my beautiful people? It's your certified life and relationship coach, Coach Court. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the importance of healing after a heartbreak. All right, and I felt like this was a really important topic because so many people don't heal after they break up. They just move on from relationship to relationship, situationship, and they don't take that time in between to make sure that they process their feelings, their emotions, and they don't go into situations that's going to be a continuation of the relationship they were just previously in. And this topic was sparked by, I'm pretty sure it was Stephen Lavoisier. Stephen Speaks, if you guys don't know him. He just posted a tweet yesterday. He tweeted yesterday, and he said, don't go from relationship to relationship. Take the time to heal. Now, like that's so accurate. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm gonna give you guys time to get in here. Like the feed, share the feed. Appreciate you. Got my tea here today. It's got a quote. Experience will give you the power and confidence to be you. It's a good quote. Accurate. If you guys aren't following me on Instagram, you can follow me there. I am Coach Court. Let me make sure that I can see the chat here, because it always turns off for whatever reason. Yeah, if you guys are in here, go ahead and chat so I can make sure that I can see it. All right. I see you. If you guys haven't picked up the book yet, $4.99, Amazon. That link is in the description below. My journey into the life coaching realm, what I went through, my experiences, and it just kind of led me here to this arena. Once again, it's a beautiful day here in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. We still have the basketball tournament going on, as per yesterday. Lots of people walking past, so sometimes I might get distracted like a puppy that sees a squirrel walk past. So I apologize, but listen, all the time I work with people that are struggling with their current relationships, and they talk about how this is just a pattern of mine. I'm always in this situation. I'm always picking these type of people. I'm attracting these type of people. And the reason being is because you haven't healed. People who are toxic or users or people who are not the ones for you, they have this uncanny ability to pick up on a person who hasn't healed from their previous traumas, or they haven't healed from their previous relationships. So they'll continue to seek out these people who look like they need rescuing, and usually it's because they need rescuing themselves. This is why I talk about all the time. You attract what you are. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And I don't care how well you think you have it together. The part in you that is unhealed will always attract somebody else who hasn't healed themselves. And that's a codependent dynamic. That's the anxious and avoidant dynamic. That's the person who's always seeking out their love and validation from somebody else because they can't find their love and validation from within themselves. Hey. Thumbs up the feed, like it so we can get the analytics, so we can tell YouTube that, hey, this is valuable content. Boost it up, get more people in here. The more people we have, the more engagement, the better you guys can, or the more valuable this session will be for you. Because when people come in and give input, that's huge. So there it is. Appreciate it. Got to get the engagement up. Have to. That soldier Soldier, good to see you. How do you say your name? Editana? That's how it's spelled. I appreciate that you as a male are speaking upon these topics. That's huge. Yeah, not a lot of men talk about these things. And that's usually socially conditioned, social conditioning, where, you don't want to talk about feelings, you don't want to talk about emotions. But, when I first got into this whole realm of work, um, the very first thing that I learned, it is important for you to be vulnerable and to talk about your experiences and let people know that it's okay to address these issues. It's okay to talk about not healing, and to talk about being broken, and to talk about being an anxious person in relationships, because it's usually frowned upon and makes people look weak. But unfortunately, well, fortunately for me, why this channel has taken off so well and how my influence has been increasing is because I don't see it as being weak. I see it as being something that needs to be discussed, like something that needs to be brought to the table, because um, you'll just continue the cycle over and over again if you don't address these things. Like Jim Rome said, I said this yesterday. People complain about things not changing, and he said that things won't change until you change. And I remember when I was mentoring kids, we made these signs, these wooden signs. I'm sure you guys have seen it. And, they have like this little duality meaning on it, where it says be the change and believe in change or something like that. But you have to be the change. You have to display the behaviors that you want to come into your life. You have to become what you want to come into your life. You become like your closest 5 influences. And if you guys are in here, appreciate you being here. Appreciate you guys liking the feed, sharing the feed, and getting more people in here. You become like your closest 5 influences. And people think that closest 5 influences mean people. And it's not just people. Your closest 5 influences is the shows you watch, the food you eat, the words, your verbal diet, the words that come out of your mouth, the music you listen to. All of that is part of your mental diet. All of it. That's the closest 5 influences to me. And I learned that through experience. Because it doesn't matter how much I'm more like a lone wolf. No matter how much you isolate yourselves from people, you cannot even have 5 friends at all. But when you're watching different YouTube revenue sources, different podcasts, you're going to start thinking and behaving like those influences. This is why when people in prison or in jail or whatever, when they start to bury themselves in different books, they completely change who they are, because the books are influencing their behavior. It's planting the seeds. Thoughts are things. Like everybody says, Earl Nightingale, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. Thoughts are things. They eventually materialize or manifest into the real world. Like you can't hide it. What you secretly think will show up in your life. Like it doesn't have a choice. This hat on my head, it was a thought. Proof of seed, shout out. It was a thought. And I continuously thought on it. And it ended up manifesting into this hello. Because I had started to act upon the thought that I had. And that's the same thing about anxiety. This is why people who struggle with anxiety, they struggle with emotional self-regulation and emotional self-control. Because that anxiety hijacks their system, and eventually you end up acting out what you're so anxious about. And this is why when people haven't healed, they start to experience the same type of feelings in their current situation that they felt in their previous situation. Like if a person had some type of trauma of a person cheating on them, and the other person was their ex was cheating on them right in front of their face, and they're texting other people right in front of their face. This is why in the next relationship, if you haven't healed and if you haven't understood that that person was just acting out on the way that this is just who that person was. It doesn't mean that I was worth being treated like that. This is just has something to do about them. This is all about how they show up and how they were raised and whatever you want to label it. But you're going to start to, if you haven't healed that part of yourself and understood that this was just them, this isn't everybody, you're going to go to the next relationship and you're going to be a little bit gun shy, a little bit shell shocked, maybe even suffer some form of PTSD from that previous situation. So it's important for you to heal and do the work, because here's what happens. This is what most people do. They get out of a situation and they haven't done anything to debrief that relationship. They haven't done anything to process their relationship. They put all their garbage into a garbage bag, throw it over their shoulder, and drag it to the next relationship, and boom, plop it down, say, hey, this is all my traumas. They talk about it up front. This is all my traumas. This is what I've been through. I've been through this. I've been through that. I've been through this. And it just, next thing you know, you got garbage all over your living room. And if you're a broken person yourself, you say, oh man, I got that garbage too. Let's just combine garbage here. And it becomes real smelly and it becomes real toxic until somebody eventually says, I'm just going to take my part of this garbage that I refuse to clean up and just get rid of and throw it on my shoulder. This person just wasn't the one for me, or it just wasn't meant to be. And you drag it to the next relationship. And so on. What do they call it? Rinse, wash, and repeat. You guys got any questions? Beautiful day. Are we going through a whole global heat wave? Because there's so many places that I hear has been extremely hot. Thanks for being here, people, on my Sunday sermon. So I posted a survey on my Instagram. I want you guys to help me out here. I want you to answer this question for me, all right? Actually, no. Yeah. All right, so somebody asked, they said, I love deeply and give a lot in relationships, but I always end up being taken for granted. How do I fix this? If you guys dealt with this, if you had this same issue, I want you guys to put a 1 in the chat, all right? Type a 1 in the chat. I love deeply and give a lot in relationships, but I always end up being taken for granted. How do I fix this? 1 in the chat if you guys have dealt with this situation. And I told him, it's a guy that asked, I told him to vet the people you date more strictly. Don't get attached too quickly. And what that means is, so that was kind of a generic response. It was late and I just was like, whatever, I'm just gonna put a generic response. But I can go more in depth right here. You need to vet the people the right way, all right? And if you haven't done the internal work, ask yourself, process this, journal this. What is it about these people that you are attracted to? Why do you feel the need to give so much in relationships? Because usually what the root cause is, it's people pleasing, it's neediness, it's wanting to be accepted, it's wanting to be validated. And if you're not able to validate yourself, like I talked about yesterday in yesterday's live session, if you're not able to validate yourself, you're going to continue to do this over and over and over again. You're going to bend over backwards for people who just don't appreciate it. If you're from another country and you don't know the value of the American dollar, somebody gives them $100, they're not even they'll say thanks, but you're here in the US, you're like, oh man, that's a lot of money. But if you're from another country, you're not going to value it because you don't know how to appreciate it. And the more that you keep giving that person, it's not going to make them appreciate it even more. If anything, they're just going to think you're pathetic for continuously giving them something that they see no worth in. So you're always going to be taken for granted in those situations. And if you're not taken for granted, you're gonna feel like you're being taken advantage because they're not reciprocating the love that you're giving. You know, you may not even be taken for granted but you're most likely going to feel that way. Okay. One in the chat, if you guys have ever dealt with this situation, being taken for granted, feeling like you give everything in relationship. I'll do that myself. That's a one for me. Thumbs up. Hey, welcome to the feed. Thumbs up, like, love. Welcome to the feed. I appreciate you guys being here. Happy Sunday. If you guys are just getting out of church, good to see everybody. Hope you had a good service. Now I'm on my Sunday sermon here. There's a lot going on. All right. I'm going to go to the next one. So here's the next question I had asked. How do you identify red flags very early on? Because choosing the person takes up 50% of the battle. Yeah, it really does. If you need to vet people better, period. And I know what the problem usually is. The problem usually is people get tired of dating. So what you do is you go with the most familiar person. You go with somebody that may have been in your life already, somebody who you kind of was attracted to, maybe an old friend, old high school friend. And you feel like that was a good vetting process because you know them, you see their Facebook feed, you see their Snap stories, and you feel like you know them personally. But what ends up happening is once you get into the romantic part of it, you realize, oh man, this person is a totally different person. Like I guess I didn't vet this person the correct way. So I told him, never ignore their upbringing, ever. I forgot the saying, but I think it goes like, past experiences form future trends. Right, so you see people's trends, how they were in previous relationships. There are different things. That's why I always ask, when I ask my clients, they ask, they say, I don't know how this got to this point. I don't know why this person broke up with me or vice versa. I don't know why this thing didn't work out. And I asked them, I say, what was the biggest complaint about either your ex or their ex's issue? Because that's going to determine, what you were doing currently that was an unhealthy behavior in the previous relationship. That makes sense? That makes sense to you? I put a 1. If that makes sense to you, put a 1. It's because, like I said yesterday, people typically don't change. They can't. You become a better version. You learn how to manage your triggers. You learn how to show up a little bit differently. You learn the skills. But when you know what hits the fan, you're going to go right back to that default setting that was programmed to you when you were younger, or programmed to you from the previous traumas that you've experienced. And we all have traumas. There's this website called ACES Too High, ACESTOOHIGH. I'm pretty sure I have that in the comment section below, but in my description below. And ACES2high.com, it talks about adverse childhood experiences, which is previous traumas that you've experienced in your childhood. And it's 10 questions, and it basically ranges from like neglect, abuse, abandonment, all those different things. It basically talks about, and actually just a simple yes or no questions. And most people, the majority of people that are walking around planet Earth, you have at least 3 or 4 different traumas. Out of those 10 questions, the average person has at least 3 or 4 of those traumas. And those traumas completely changes the way you operate. It changes you all the way down to the core. Because it activates your fight or flight. You know, whenever you're thinking like, all right, there's a tiger right in front of me. I'm either going to fight or I'm going to run. And the more that you have that activated from all the different traumas in your life, eventually it's going to like start pushing toxins into your system. And it's going to become, instead of adaptive and helping you survive, to maladaptive and actually killing you. Like if you go to that website, aces2high.com, it's going to show you, they have it down to a science on the different health issues that's going to arise. You know, if it's like cancerous cells are going to start forming more, the more that system gets broken and it gets flooded. And I'm not a therapist, I'm just paraphrasing, you know, from what I learned. I actually taught this to, you know, the kids that I was mentoring too. I said, you know, it's important for you to let these feelings out, talk these things through with people, because it's going to help you buffer that toxicity that's building up in your cells. But I told them, never ignore the red flags. Never ignore the upbringing. You know, it's going to form future trends. Look for flakiness on dates and inconsistencies. Huge. Because what flakiness is and inconsistency, it basically shows you the type of person they are as far as like follow through. And it also determines their level of interest in you. Because there are a lot of people who won't be really attracted to someone, and they're just like, all right, let's just see where this goes. And I see this more with women, if I'm being honest. Women will go on dates with you when they're not totally attracted to you. And they'll just like, all right, let's, you know, he's nice and he seems like he might be a good fit. And they'll go out with you. And then they'll probably never want to go out on another date with you. You know, it depends on their level of attraction. So if they're flaky and they kind of inconsistent on the dates early on, then you know that their level of attraction for you was kind of, and you can't fake attraction. Attraction is, it's innate. Like it's Mother Nature takes care of attraction for you. You know if you attracted somebody right away. And so learn the signs of high attraction in that person. You know, if they're texting you back regularly, if they are, you know, not just ghosting on you, and just showing that high level of interest. And this is different in relationships too, because you can start to tell when a person loses attraction in relationships. So, you know, you guys know I teach, you know, the dating phase, the relationship phase, and the breakup phase. So it's all different. Soldier, appreciate you. Super chats, if you find this valuable, you know, donate to the channel, or you can go ahead and pick up my book on Amazon. That's in the description. It's a really short book. It's I liked it. My mom likes it, which is cool. That's always a bonus. If your mom likes it, then, you know, I guess that's the only person that really matters. But go check the book out. That'd be great to show me that support. The next question somebody asked was, any tips for dealing with a friend breakup, being ghosted by a friend? I guess the biggest thing, the most impactful thing I can say is you just have to learn how to move on. Here's the thing about ghosting, though. It really hurts a person's self-esteem. It hurts their ego, because a lot of human beings like closure. We like to understand why things didn't work out, so we can become better versions of ourselves. And unfortunately, not a lot of people are going to give you that satisfaction. Like, they don't have to give you a reason for why they decided to not pursue anything with you. And it really damages people. Like, it really hurts people's ego and their self-esteem to just be able to just be let go like that. And, you know, like I say, you know, Wayne Dyer, you know, how people treat you as their karma, how you respond is yours. But it still sucks, though, that, you know, a person could just be like, yeah, I'm out, you know, without any word, without, you know, you could just came from a nice date, or what you thought was a nice date, and they'll just pick up and leave on you. So I told them to keep yourself busy and reconnect with other friends. You know, move on to the next. There's 7.8 billion people in this world, and you know, the person that you choose to be in a relationship with is going to be probably the biggest source of your pain and your happiness. So try to balance that out. Don't allow one person to fill every need that you have in your life, because it's not possible, right? Think about it. Like, you have friends that you like talking sports with, you have friends that you like going golfing with or whatever, hooping with, uh, friends that you could talk about TV shows, and I like anime with, people that you could talk politics with, people that you can talk relationship stuff with. And when you have that one person and you encompass that person, encompass all of that in that one person, when that person leaves, they're going to leave a huge hole in you. And I talked about this yesterday. When you make that person your everything and they ended up breaking up with you or ghosting on you, then it's like somebody died in your life. And I feel like the death of love is almost worse than actual death, because somebody dies, you have to grieve it. You have to take those stages. You realize that you have to come to terms that, I'll never get to say this to this person again, and I hope this person felt this way about me. But when it's actually the death of love, and that person is walking around, they may be dating other people, it sucks, because that person is alive, and the person, you still haven't gotten that finality of the relationship. So it sucks. I'm with you. I felt it. It's a terrible feeling. Next question. How do you know you're ready to date again after heartbreak? So the response that I gave was, everyone's time frame is different, obviously. But when you can start back eating and functioning again normally, because when people go through breakup, like you lose all your weight and you're not really hungry, and you isolate yourselves, or you may do the opposite. You may start hanging out with your friends a lot, eating more, because some people stress eat. And when that thing starts to go back to normal, then you can put yourself back out there again. But dating and commitment is two different things. Like, just because you're dating doesn't mean that you're I feel like you can still date during heartbreak, because it's good to have camaraderie with people. And what happens is you see these characteristics in other people that your ex didn't have. Your ex may not have had like the ability to have a intellectual conversation, or they may not have had the capacity to talk about their future goals and their dreams. And when you're dating and you're talking to these people, and they have all these ambitions and they have shared goals and stuff, it's kind of cool, because it lets you know that they call it one-itis. You have this one-itis, and once you start to expand your world and see that there are other options out there, it makes you feel like this thing was probably for the best, because you choose that one person. That's probably the one. My most popular TikTok was how to detach. And in that video, I said one of the ways to detach from somebody is get rid of your limiting beliefs, because there's 7.8 billion people in this world, and you choose to attach to that one person. So once you get rid of your limited beliefs, like, I'll never find the right one, I'll never find my soulmate again, I'll never find my twin flame again, it's like nonsense. Because I had a client of mine, he's my boy, I don't know if he's in here or not, but we got into a little deal about that too, and because he felt like he found his soulmate or his twin flame, and I'm like, what are the odds of finding your twin flame when you live in a little city? Like, that's like 1 in a billion. Finding the twin flame and the love in your life right there in a population of 20,000 people. What are the odds of that? Most likely that's not a twin flame. That's just an unhealthy attachment. That's it. That's just that person tapping into that insecure side of you. If you guys are coming here, I see 15 people in this room. 16. If it's 16 people in this room, I should see 16 likes. Come on, boost the engagement. Get people in here. Get the questions being asked. so I can make this Sunday sermon worth Sunday sermon in. Can dating someone else help me? Can dating someone else help me get my ex back? It could have the potential. If anything, it'll help you deal with the loneliness that you feel, because when you go through breakups, one of the top things people deal with is loneliness and not having anybody to communicate with, to share, because that's the biggest thing that people miss, is that, what do they call it, starts with a C, join a blank. If you guys know what it is, put it in the chat. You missed the, not camaraderie, but eek. Anyway, moving on. Companionship, all right? You missed the companionship of being with that person. You didn't miss me, Glenn? What's up, my boy? All the way from the UK. So, Glenn, I'm drinking tea today. And today's quote is, experience will give you the power and confidence to be you. That's the equation that I like to use. Experience plus knowledge equals truth. Experience plus knowledge equals truth. You can have the experience, but if you don't have the knowledge, you're just going to continue to make the same mistakes all over and over again. Over and over again. You can have the knowledge, but if you don't have the experience, it's just going to make you a bookworm, and it sounds good in theory. But when you have the experience and the knowledge, that's what you consider. You can take that to the bank. Like, this is my truth. This is what I know. This is what, if I've seen it happen over and over, and I studied the statistics and the knowledge behind it, and it's like, well, this is now my truth. I can now take this to the bank and say, this is going to return some type of dividends because this is my truth. So, confidence to be you. My ex is also in a rebound. It's hard to see that rebound relationships, but I would say this: you need to stop checking it. One way to get over it is just stop checking in on them. Stop wondering what they're doing. Stop wondering who they're talking to, who they're with. It's just going to delay your healing process. And like I said, this is the topic of the video. It's important for you to heal. And the one way that you can heal is to stop inquiring about what they're doing. Stop letting your friends come and tell you what's going on with them, what they're posting, who they're hanging out with. That's just not going to help you. It's going to delay it. And it's time better spent burying yourself in personal development, reflecting on the things that you did in the relationship that you could do better next time, and moving yourself along. And he's hiding a rebound from you. They usually do. And the reason that they do that is because what I've learned, when people are in rebound relationships, that relationship most likely developed before they got rid of you. They usually monkey branched to that ex relationship, and they hide it because they don't want to have to feel the guilt and the shame of you knowing that this thing was going on all along. That's usually why they hide the rebound. Or they don't know if the relationship is going to work out with them, and they want to make sure that you're still in backup position for when they decide to come back. If they decide to come back. Because it's always, during the honeymoon stage, everything's all glamorous, and that person's farts never stink. Like, nothing matters until it starts to matter, until they start to see little anger issues or little temper flare-ups or little inconsistencies on follow-throughs, and they're not treating them the same exact way that you treated them. That's when they start to, regret the decision that they made. But as you guys know, I talk about it on my channel all the time. Rebound relationships usually last 3 to 6 months before it starts turning toxic. And the reason it starts turning toxic because, like I said earlier in the live session, they have brought all their garbage into the relationship and they didn't heal, and then they tore the bag open and it starts to stink. So unless they're doing therapy, counseling, they're processing, they're journaling, they're understanding what their triggers are, what they need to do better next time, then that could be an anomaly. That could be where the relationship works out. And I've seen it happen before. I've seen rebounds go for years. I've seen them like become really healthy relationships. And a lot of people say it's all about compatibility. And that's part of it, but most of it is healing yourself and getting into a relationship with somebody that has healed themselves already. I didn't think people change. The best thing to do after a breakup is rediscover yourself. Yes, go into self-reflection. Monk mode is what they call it. Go into monk mode and figure out what you need to do. Because in breakups, there's always two. There's not just one person. There's always two people. It takes two to tango that made the relationship go sour. The person who won't communicate is just as much to blame as the person who overly communicate. Or vice versa. So it's always two. He stalked me on social media. He's stalking on social media, and that's just breadcrumbing. That's just trying to keep you around, let you know, hey, I'm still here, I'm still alive. So if you have any type of situationship going on, it's gonna plant that little seed in your mind. Charles says, absolutely, they don't break up out of the blue. Never take them back. They will do it again. I've seen it time and time again. They jump, like Stephen Speak says, don't go from relationship to relationship. Heal yourself. If they don't take the time to shore up whatever they need to shore up, patch up the holes in their ship before they put their boat back in the water, they're just going to sink again. And they're going to bring that boat back to you, and it's just going to sink again. And they're going to expect for you to do the patching. They want you to patch it up. They want you to make them complete. Never works. Never works. Or they find something to. What I learned about people who are in unhealthy relationships, they usually, especially marriages, I see this happen all the time. They usually find something to distract themselves with in the relationship. And the distractions can look something like they'll go on vacations more. They'll take up projects around the house. They'll try to have a baby, thinking that will be the piece that's missing. And instead of doing the work on themselves by going and doing, CBT or therapy or something, they try to replace it and distract themselves with something that that's going to make the relationship, magically repair itself. And it never does, because usually what happens is just stalls. It's just stalling for time. And when they find that person that comes along that makes them feel alive again, that's when they'll say, yeah, this just isn't working out. I've tried. I fought for this. It's like fault. Define fault. Did you do counseling? Did you go to therapy? Did you understand about the inner child and how the inner child plays a big role in how you're showing up in your current relationships? Did you do any of that research? No. But Daryl's a nice guy, and he's a little bit more alpha than you. So Exactly. Two people, and most times the one who leaves is the one who don't or probably never really cared about the relationship. Charles, I don't know about that one because one thing that keeps people in relationships is the release of the dopamine and the oxytocin that they're getting from the relationship. And they may be feeling that intensely and deeply in at various moments in the relationship. It's just when they stop getting that same hit of dopamine and oxytocin, the bonding chemical from that person, that's when they decide to just either find it somewhere else, or they feel like, hey, maybe I'm just better off alone. So there could be a degree of truthfulness to that, but you know, life is not all black and white. There's definitely gray areas. And you know me, I try to stay neutral in the way that I coach. I don't want to, sway either direction and cause people to, get in a tizzy over being wronged. And that's part of it too. One thing I learned about people when they come on my comment section and on my YouTube channel, the ones that are just really spewing out toxic words and toxic behaviors, or just talking about how terrible their relationships were, they haven't healed. Because healed people talk with nothing but love and empathy and understand compassion. He jumped to the next relationship in 1 month. Is it a rebound? Is he missing me in a rebound? If he really cared about you, then of course he missed you. But does he regret it? Probably not. Especially if the situation that he's in is giving him, like I said before, a good, nice little dopamine injection, and they're feeling lovey-dovey and they're in the honeymoon stage, then he's probably numb to what you're going through and what you're feeling. We have kids together, so I want to know, can I get him back? What are my chances? I think we talked about this yesterday. Can my ex heal, grieve, and deal with emotion whilst in a rebound relationship? I guess it depends on the person, how tolerant they are. Because usually when people go in rebounds, they're constantly talking about their exes. They're constantly, degrading that person, and you may be the butt of their jokes and whatever. And if a person is smart, they'll pick up on it. They'll pick up on, all right, this person hasn't healed yet. Because most of the time we're talking about what that person did to them. And that's just not a healthy dynamic. How come I can't see the chat questions coming in? I don't know. You should be able to. Let me see. What about now? That work? Isn't it being selfish when just because of the missing of the oxytocin and dopamine, they go to search elsewhere instead of working it out with their current partner? Yeah, absolutely. I think so. But at the end of the day, people are going to do what they want to do. It's just, the stuff that I study, it talks about, I feel personally that every relationship has an expiration date. If you don't do what you have to do to keep the thing fresh and alive, then it's going to die out. And there are people that are willing to fight for that, and the people who aren't willing to fight for it. They're not willing to learn what they need to learn and do what they need to do to make this thing go forever. And that's the thing about modern day people. I saw a statistic a couple of days ago, actually. It talks about the modern day era, people who are millennials, people aged 25 through 40, maybe born in the 90s, maybe early 90s. They're not getting married and aren't in traditional style households like they used to. I think they said that, before the age of 30, around the age of 30, 35, you know, it's only like 31% of those people getting married. 31%, which is a substantial drop off from previous years and previous eras. Like it went from like, let me think, the 70s, I think it said it was about 60% chance of people getting married. To the night, if you're born in 1990s, there's like a 31% chance of you getting married. And it's an even lower statistic of you living in a cohabitated unit family style. So like 3 people, mom, dad, kid. It's not common anymore because most people, in particular women, are choosing to be single moms. They're choosing to not stay with that person that they were with. They're like, next, I can find somebody better. And for the most part, men want to fight. Men want to like, nope, I want to keep my family together. I want to keep this thing alive. But because of the way the world works, and you can probably blame this on social media and dating apps, and people living vicariously through the things that they see when they scroll, they are swiping left to people that's having babies. All right, this isn't working out. I gave this thing a year. You cheated on me, or we can go to counseling. Nope, I'm never dealing with it again. Or we can do this. Nope. Swipe left. And those people aren't getting married. They're not living in traditional style households anymore. And men are becoming smart to it. They're wisening up. Like, wow, we're really disposable. People don't want to fight. I talked about this in, I think, the live session 2 days ago. I had a counselor friend and told me, he said that when a woman brings a man into counseling, the relationship, it's salvageable. You can make it work. But when the man brings a woman into counseling, it's usually over because she has checked out. She doesn't have those feelings for you anymore. And everybody knows that, women make decisions based on how they feel in that moment, based on where they're at. Men make decisions based on logic, which makes it hard for them to understand why women feel certain ways at certain times. Because when breakups happen, we're trying to logically understand why a person is feeling a certain way. And it doesn't work that way. Just like the book, Dr. John Gray, I believe, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, he talked about that. Women make decisions based on emotions. Men make it based on logic. And the Venusians don't understand the Martians most of the time. So that statistic blew my mind. Before the age of 30, or people around the age of 30, 35, they aren't getting married. It's, if anything, they get gun shy about proceeding with some type of marriage or some type of committal type of relationship. Glenn always coming through with the coffee, man. I know that European dollar over there is going a long way, my friend. I appreciate the coffee. Will he regret breaking up with me while he is a rebound? I think I already answered that question for you. That was what my ex told me after the breakup, that she expected having a kid with me and afterwards living along with the kid. I was shocked. And we are near our mid-30s and not married. Charles, this is what I'm talking about, people. This is what I'm talking about. People don't fight anymore. It's just not, and I talked about yesterday how my dad, he's been married 34 years. I'm like, you can't tell me that you didn't have any issues. I know you did, and that you were willing to fight for it. But there are so many options out there. I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie Borat. Old movie, super inappropriate. So just so you know, heads up if you ever decide to check it out. But one of the end credit scenes in Borat was like a bonus footage where he was walking around the supermarket and there was a ton of different options of cheese. And He was pretending like he was from a different country, so he was confused. He's like, "What is this?" I said, "It's cheese." "And what is this?" "Cheese." "And what about this? It looks like paper." "It's cheese." "All of this is cheese." "It's cheese." Like, how am I supposed to pick any of this? Like, that's what the dating world is like these days. They see all these different options, and once that cheese starts to harden and becoming a little bit, undesirable, I think I'm going to go with the one that looks like paper now. Let me know if I'm wrong. Give me a 1. If this makes sense to you, it's 20 people in here. Put a 1 in the chat if any of this is resonating with you, if you feel like this is the way that the world works. Because I feel it is. This is exactly how the world works. Or the U.S., I should say, because I don't know how to. I know vicariously through my clients how it works over there, but here in the U.S., that's how it works. 1 in the chat. 1 in the chat. If you feel like this condition to be this disposable cheese, that's bleak. It was an analogy. Just an analogy, brother. But I thought that was interesting, though. That statistic in general. And you start to think about, as somebody that's been through a divorce, been through a couple different relationships that didn't work out, I know at the end of the day, I was willing to fight for all of those. Because first off, I enjoy what I do for work. Men, what we like to do is we like to get ourselves into our purpose and have that person that's going to support us. We don't like, especially when you get, it's fun in your 20s, but when you get in your 30s and you're getting up there, like, you don't want to have to date. You don't want to have to be doing, wasting any time and energy on anything outside of your purpose. So, I know for most men, and I read so many books, man, it's not even funny. No More Mr. Nice Guy, David Dita, The Way to Superior Man, Coach Corey Wayne, How to Be a 3% Man, The Rational Male, Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus, The Love Dare, The Love 5 Love Languages, Attached, you name it. I've read so many books, and it all comes down to who's willing to put in the effort and who's willing to fight. Who's willing to learn the skills that they need to learn to make the relationship go the distance. And unfortunately, once somebody says that they don't feel a certain way anymore, Coach Greg Adams, who is that? Oh, I haven't even, I saw Coach Greg Adams come across my feed one time, but I never checked him out. So I might have to check him out. Greg Adams. So I study a lot of that. The law of attraction, the difference between masculine and feminine energy. There's a book called Models. I forgot the name of that author. It's a great book. But it all boils down to the same thing: is who's willing to fight, who's willing to put in the effort. Let's take it back to the title. What is the title of this video? I done lost. We're going on an hour here. I done lost what the actual topic of the video was, because I done veered off topic. If you guys okay with me veering off topic, thumbs up. Give me a 1. Because it seems like you guys are just vibing with me. We still got some high engagement here, so appreciate that. So many options these days due to social media, unfortunately. Yeah. So, what do you guys feel is the remedy to that? How do you feel we can get rid of the complexities and the troubles that social media brought to the world? What do you think? How can we get over that? How can we remedy that? Because the only way I feel we can remedy that, if there's like a complete structure just crumble, because It's not getting any better. It's really not. It's really not. Like everything is different. You know, modern households aren't the same anymore. We're shifting more towards a spirituality based realm, where it's about universe. It's about um, being spiritual, and we're shifting more towards that self-actualization. So it's not like, it used to be back in the day where people went to church every Sunday and they had the same routines, and it was a unit instead of, it's just it. Everybody wants to be chiefs. Nobody wants to be an Indian. I don't know if you ever heard that saying. I hope it's not offensive to anybody, but that's the saying that I heard. Too many chiefs, not enough Indians. Everybody wants to run their own show, and they don't want to fit in that unit. They don't want to be put in a box, and that's fine. That's if that's the way you want to live, that's fine. But what it's doing is it's breaking the family units, and it's really giving kids unhealthy views on what a functional, healthy relationship should look like. We are planting the seeds is what we're doing. And those something tells me that those seeds were starting to get planted back in the 80s, back in the 70s. That's when those seeds were starting to get built. After I think the baby booming era, that's when things really started to shift in like the dynamics of the household. I stopped using social media after. That's good. I recommend that sometimes if you can. I can't do it because of my job. Taking a social media detox is huge. It's really important for you to do. Keep your relationship off of social media. Some people need that. Some people need it for validation, to show off. I know majority of women, they do that. When they're really in love with somebody and they feel like they have a prize, they will put you on social media. They will show you off. They'll, show the prize that they have if they consider you a prize. To heal, I took vacations for 3 weeks, met new people. It was hard, but with time, you notice that if she or he doesn't care, why should we? Absolutely, Charles. It's the way to see it. More accessible emotional training would be a good starting point. Ooh, I like that. Kind of have to be in place where you look at for this content. Absolutely. Emotional training is huge. Coach, you need to do a video on social media and relationships. Man. There's a term out there, I think it's called, for people like my generation and a little bit younger than me, we don't understand, like when you're spending quality time with somebody and they're there and they're just like, scrolling their social media, it makes you feel neglected, and it makes you feel like whatever they got going on their phone is more important than you having an actual connection with them. That's one trend that I started to see when you go out, like say you go out to a restaurant and you see people, younger generation, maybe 30 and younger, they're there, just scrolling, they may be showing each other posts and stuff, but like the actual engagement and the actual communication is just not there. And what happens is it makes the person start to form resentment for that other person, because whatever they have going on their phone, it seems to be much more important than actually being with that person and talking about, whatever you have going on. Now, I know if you're living with somebody and you know everything about them and you guys have gotten, complacent and you know each other pretty well, you don't have a whole lot to talk about, which is understandable. But if it's an issue where a person has to constantly ask you to, hey, be present with me and not be on your phone, then that's when resentment starts to form and the relationship starts to become unhealthy. It's too easy to press a button and block someone out of your life these days. Yeah, it's crazy. And I said earlier, ghosting can really mess a person up mentally, really mess with their self-esteem and their sense of self-worth. Even posting, I remember what's the movie? I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie The Social Dilemma. It was, I'm pretty sure it was released last year, and it talked about the effects of not getting enough likes, not getting enough loves when you post pictures, like especially during the ages of 12, 13, especially young women. Um, they really struggle when they don't get the likes and the loves that they feel they deserve on posts, and it messes with them. It causes more depression, it causes more anxiety, it causes them to feel like they're not as cool or as popular as the other people who are getting all the validation. So there's another thing too that can really, mess with a relationship. And it's actually stunting them from growing intellectually. It stunts their intellectual growth because they're constantly, just kind of numbing themselves out. I also recommend to tell friends not to tell us what she is doing, because at the beginning I got told that she was exposing a lot on Instagram, which time I stopped caring. Good for you. That's the only way to do it. It's the only way to heal. Unless you're like a steel vault and you don't take any type of input, then that's pretty much what you have to do. It all goes back to bad communication skills. You can always bring it back to that. But even if you have good communication skills, if you're not compatible with each other, if you're if you're still toxic and you haven't healed, that's where it all comes back to. If you haven't healed, because two people that are healed, they'll understand the importance of learning proper and healthy communication. But if you don't, all right, guys, I'm gonna take off. It's good to see everybody. Thank you for the input. Thank you for the likes and the loves. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the coffee. Man, I'm a blessed man to have a community like this. I appreciate you. Namaste. Love all you guys. God bless you. Happy Sunday. Appreciate you.